Top of the morning to you, laddies. It's me, Minecraft Mia Maples. A couple of weeks ago, in Snapshot 25 W44A, Mojang added a brand new baddie to the game, the Camel Husk. Since its initial edition, I've been doing nothing but sitting, studying, and reading up on this boy. From how to find it and tame it to its very best uses, here is everything you need to know about the Camel Husk. Firmly and fastly smack that like button, and let's go. For starters, this little baddie right here is known as the Camel Husk. Recency bias for sure, but its spawn egg is one of the newest ones and one of the cleanest ones. Now the Camel Husk, just like its name may suggest, is essentially a huskified camel. Just like with its more alive friend, if you're looking for a huskified camel, you're going to want to start by heading over to the local desert. Unlike its more alive sister that can be found spawning inside of a village, if you're looking to find one of these things, well, right now, the lighting is going to be way too bright. Hold that thought for a second, though. First, I'd like to get a little bit more up close and personal with this undead mob. So here we go. In survival Minecraft, the Camel Husk, it will not attack the player so long as there are no hostile riders on top of the camel. Even then, though, the camel is a sweet guy. It won't actually attack the player. It'll just basically be an accomplice in the attack. Now, the Camel Husk, if I jump on top of it, will be able to see its total health amount, which is always going to be the same, at a total of 32 health. That is going to make this mob one of the most healthy, strong mobs in the entire game. If somehow you are able to take it out, well, every single time you'll get a little bit of experience and 2 to 3 rotten flesh. The maximum amount of rotten flesh possible will go up by 1 for each level of looting. On the other hand, if you're not such a bad guy and you found a Camel Husk, you want to maybe, I don't know, it took a little bit of damage or something, you want to maybe heal it up or tempt it, well then your golden ticket is actually going to be the rabbit's foot item. If I feed a Camel Husk a rabbit's foot, hearts will come out, and more importantly, it will be healed, about 1 heart. Now, even though the hearts will come out when you feed a Camel Husk a rabbit's foot, there is unfortunately no way to breed the Camel Husk. It is an undead mob, and undead mobs don't care about things like that. And finally here, pretty much the only other item that you can use on a Camel Husk is, of course, going to be a saddle. If I equip a Camel Husk with a saddle, now I can actually control this thing, run around, walk around, and even camel leap around my nearest body. As you can see here, just like the plain old classic camel, this Camel Husk is a very, very tall mob. In fact, actually, if you were wondering about a side-by-side, it is literally exactly the same size as a camel, hitbox and all. This quite large, whopping, massive size is going to translate over to some very useful movement mechanics. For example, take a look at this huge hitbox right here. With such a huge box to the entity, this will mean that it will easily, without a problem at all, it'll be able to walk across or even stand above 1 block gaps and will never be able to fall down. Also, if you've studied up on your camel mechanics, then you might recall that the camel can actually easily step right over 1.5 blocks tall things. For example, a wall, not a problem. Fences, also not a problem at all. 1.5 blocks tall indeed means 1.5 blocks tall, though, so that means if you're trying to contain your camel with like a block and a slab, that's not gonna work either. And actually, the camels don't even need to be controlled by a player to do this. If I had camels sitting inside of this area, and I were to just be patient, wait around, if it felt like it, eventually, it'll be able to just walk right over the fence on its own and leave the pen. Another pretty cool thing about this Camel Husk is, just like the skeleton horse, this is an undead mob, which means it will never drown. At least currently, how it is inside of the snapshot right now, you could actually take this thing under the water and walk around. So long as you don't actually drown, yeah, this thing is going to live under the water forever. If you get off of this thing, it'll float back up to the surface, though. So that's pretty cool. Now, before we take a look at spawning of the Camel Husk, channel members, there is a world download out now of this world that I'm using for this video, plus a little bit of spicing. By becoming a channel member today, you will help support me directly and get a little bit of inside peeks into what I'm planning for live streams and sometimes future content too. Subscribe and smash that join button today to join the club. Hey, there's also a link down in the description. Now, one final thing that I'd like to show you here with the Camel Husk, potentially useful in your base, maybe keeping it safe from mobs. This right here is what I like to call a camel staircase. Because of the camel's large size, you could use the staircase with blocks spaced out to cleanly and easily walk up and down an area. Meanwhile, hostile mobs or players who can't really do parkour very well, you'll never be able to traverse this gap. And yeah, the concept here, it's pretty straightforward. You can continue this as high or as long as you'd like. Pretty much only camels will be able to walk up something like this. Now, the Camel Husk, if you are looking for one of these things, like I alluded to a little bit earlier on, it's going to be the desert biome. Inside of the desert biome, and only inside of the desert biome at nighttime, only under the open sky, the Camel Husk will be able to spawn in place of a 10% of normal husks. Now, these spawning odds are going to make this thing not the rarest thing in the world, but also at the same time, definitely not the most common thing either. Giving ourselves a little bit of night vision and hanging around here inside of the desert for a little bit more time, sooner or later, sooner or later, it's bound to happen. Over here, we have ourselves, we have ourselves not only the Camel Husk, but on top of that, a husk with a spear, and the brand new parched mob as well. I know. If you are looking to get your hands on one of these things, this right here is where it all begins. Now, it is important to note that just like the husk, the parched, the Camel Husk will not burn in the daylight. And just like these two hostile mobs, if not done properly, the Camel Husk can actually despawn naturally as well. When a Camel Husk spawns at nighttime in the desert, right now, it will always spawn with a husk wielding a spear and a parched that can have an enchanted bow or not on the backseat. Once you've found a Camel Husk, then it's time to talk about actually getting your hands on one of these things. That means it's time for the battle. Now, I can't lie to you here. This is going to be one of the most dangerous little battles that you can have that isn't a boss in vanilla Minecraft. You are going to want to gear up for this battle. Get yourself some decent armor. On top of some armor that is at least a little bit good, you're also going to want to consider definitely getting yourself a bow and probably a decent sword as well. It doesn't have to be netherite, but the stronger the sword, the better. Now, on your sword, because we're dealing with undead mobs, I recommend having the smite enchantment, and then your bow. Because you're going to want to take out this husk spear mob as quick as possible, the more power that you can get, the better. Now, before we dive into this battle, it's important to know that the husk knows how to use a spear, and that will make this Camel Husk move around quicker, and the parched will shoot arrows of weakness at you, making your hits land a little bit less damage. Also, just like the skeleton horse, you could absolutely accidentally damage the Camel Husk, so it might not be a bad idea to turn on bounding boxes, at least if you're on Java. That way you know exactly where to aim, which is going to be towards the heads of both hostile riders, just to be safe. Because the camel's head is not included in the bounding box, you can technically shoot clean through the camel's head. The other thing that's going to make this battle a little bit more tricky is going to be the surrounding hostile mobs that you will need to continue to deal with as well. Alright, I can't delay any longer. 3, 2, 1, it's battle time. Oh yeah, one more thing. You might want to have a saddle so you can ride off into the sunset once you've taken out the bad boys. Alright, so in a survival setting here, the Camel Husk is going to lock onto you from 1,000,000 miles away practically, and then it's going to charge at you very, very quickly here. The key with this battle is going to be movement. Do not get hit by the arrows of weakness. They will make you weaker. In my humble opinion, the best move for this battle is going to be using a bow, shooting at the Camel Husk. I meant the spear rider, the husk with a spear, and taking out as quick as possible. That way, once you take out the husk with a spear, the Camel Husk is way slowed down, but is still technically ridden by a bad mob. If you have a sword with a little bit of smite, you can easily mow down a lot of the other bad boys in the desert. Now, once you've taken out the husk zombie with the spear thing, the camel is going to have way less of a long detection range. Absolutely watch out for these parched mobs though, because the arrows of weakness will make you weaker. You're going to want to, again, land a couple of hits on this bad boy, and then just like that, I am Minecraft professional, easy peasy. We now have a naked camel. What you're going to want to do as quick as possible, throw a saddle on it, or don't, but get on top of the Camel Husk. As soon as a player mounts a Camel Husk, it is no longer counted towards the undead or generic hostile mob cap and will therefore no longer despawn. Keep your distance, keep your cool, mount the camel as quick as possible, and then get out of the desert. It's time to sleep, roll things over to daytime, where we can mess with the camel a little bit more. Oh yeah, and watch out for the cactus. They definitely take damage to cactus. Next up, just like it is just about any time a new mob is added to the game, how the heck do you tame a Camel Husk? Great news, even when there's bad boys on the Camel Husk, the mob is already tamed. You don't really need to tame it. To make it yours, instead, all you need to do is put a saddle on top of the Camel Husk and, well, there you go, then you can fully control it. If you change your mind about the saddle, you could use a pair of shears on the Camel Husk to take the saddle off and, well, then you took the saddle off. Now, controlling the Camel Husk is very straightforward. If you've ever ridden or driven a camel, well, then the controls are going to be exactly the same. If you move around with, like, the W key, your standard walk key, whatever it is, the camel will walk around wherever you are walking towards. You can strafe left and right, and you can back up as well, but walking forward is by far the quickest. If I sprint while I am on the camel, well, the camel will actually be able to sprint as well, making you move about twice as fast. This sprinting with a camel is a clutch move that you can pull out if you're getting like overwhelmed with bad mobs or something. Now, by hitting the jump key, instead of jumping vertically, I will lunge horizontally. When I hit the space key, I'm going to want to hold it down. I have a bar that'll charge up. When I let go, I will do a lunge. The lower your lunge bar fills up, the lower your lunge distance will be. If you can get a lunge that is in the orange or near the top of the bar, well, that'll mean that your lunge will be a little bit more successful and therefore jump a little bit further. This lunge move is really useful when paired with a sprinting camel. I mean, you can lunge almost like 10 blocks at a time forward. It's pretty great. When talking about fall damage with the camel, it's got a little bit of a buff. You can fall up to 4 blocks without the camel taking any fall damage at all. And so, with all of that out of the way, it's about time we talk about farming the Camel Husk, which is the saddest segment of the video today. The Camel Husk is just about impossible to farm, unfortunately, because this mob does not breed. Well, yeah, you could give it rabbit's foot and have hearts come out all day long, but it's not going to make sweet love. Because the camel does not zombify on its own, well, you can't, like, zombify a camel and make things happen that way. And finally here, because the Camel Husk will only spawn where there is open sky, so it's not going to spawn in like a cave or anything, you can't physically build, you know, like a big, large, dark box and wait around for the Camel Husk to spawn, because it will never spawn. The only way to get a Camel Husk and sort of farm a Camel Husk is to wait around in the desert at nighttime for them to spawn. If you're trying to get more than one of these things, or as many as possible, one little tip that I can give you here is scaffolding inside of the desert biome, towered real high up. At nighttime in the desert with a bunch of scaffolding towered really high up. You know how hostile mobs will spawn in Minecraft? They basically won't spawn too close to the player, but they will despawn if the player is too far away. Well, you could build a simple small tower of scaffolding, go all the way up to the top of one of these things, wait around at the top of your scaffolding tower for hopefully a Camel Husk to eventually spawn. You could make your tower even taller to get higher up and despawn the mobs, go back down a little bit lower, and, you know, basically use the simple to build scaffolding platform in the air to hopefully be able to get one of these things to spawn, or at the least be able to spot one of these things that has spawned a heck of a whole lot easier than running around in the desert avoiding the other hostile mobs. Now, the Camel Husk is a pretty beautiful mob. Next up, let's talk about some of the best uses, because, oh boy, if you know how to use the camel, then you know that there are a lot of great uses for the mob. For starters here, like we talked about earlier on in today's video, movement. Traversing things that might be a little bit difficult to move around on, well, yeah, the camel is going to be great at that. You could use it to travel around your world, not have to worry about smaller gaps, or if you can get the leap just right, you could actually use the camel to clear water a little bit quicker too. Keep in mind that if your camel gets stuck, get off of it and it will float back up to the surface, then you can continue moving across rivers. Also, if you were wondering, yes, of course, just like with most other mobs, nowadays you can put a lead on a camel and drag it around too. Now, the camel is technically a two-seater mob, so you and your friend, your girl, you could go on a romantic ride into the desert at sunset hour together. The rider on the back of the camel will only be able to ride. They can't control anything, but maybe they could be armed with a bow and you have like a war machine or something. Believe it or not, another great use for the Camel Husk is actually an easy gold farm. Slide into the nether and find an area that is relatively flat, something like this area right here. To maximize your quality of life and your profits, ideally, you're going to want to have a sword with knockback and looting. A little bit of sharpness would never hurt too. Now, I will warn you that this is a little bit dangerous, but with the Camel Husk inside of the nether, find an area that is flat, find a piglin, get the piglins mad at you, move over to the flat area, and basically sit around. Because you sit so high up on this mob, the other mobs shouldn't be able to reach you until they are bounced up a little bit higher from you hitting them. That will mean that you basically have a moving, walking mob farm. You know, something that you could sit around here in the nether, let the piglins walk straight on over to you, and mow them down with like basically zero risk at all. The knockback is going to help make it so the piglins can't bounce up near you and accidentally hit you. This can even, if you're a little bit braver and bolder, be a moving, walking gold farm as well. Snowballs can come in clutch here too. You can throw them at piglins to get them to pay attention to you. Then move over to somewhere where the piglins can't step up and get to you and, you know, basically just stand around and take these guys out. It's really not that bad at all, and it's insanely easy to do. Take that exact same concept, slap it over into the overworld, and maybe this time arm yourself with a spear instead, and you basically have a moving, destructing war machine at nighttime, where other hostile mobs that are a little bit shorter that use melee combat will not be able to reach you. So something like a creeper, yeah, that's going to explode no matter what. We should get out of here. But on the other hand, something like a husk, because I am so high up in the air, it's never going to be able to hit me. I could put the spear down into charge mode or whatever, run around, and poke things way quicker, dealing a little bit more damage. Combine it with the lunge, and you might be able to one-hit some of these bad boys. This is a pretty nice option for exploring the desert at nighttime. Uh-oh, whoops. And actually, a little bonus tip for those of you looking for a camel husk, because of the camel's true height and much easierness to find, you could maybe ride one of these things around in the desert at nighttime to protect yourself a little bit more, you know, while you're hunting for the husk version of the camel. When it comes to using the camel husk, if you've got a use in mind for the camel, you can translate that exact use over to the camel husk, and it'll be able to do that just as well. And so, the camel husk, that is just about everything you need to know about this mob for the new update. Wait, what's that? Bonus fact, you want one. Nobody ever said a bonus fact had to be nice, did they? On Minecraft Bedrock Edition, and only on Bedrock Edition right now, the Camel Husk will actually take a little bit of damage from a conduit. Because this thing is an undead mob, if it's in the water or the rain near a conduit, the conduit will slowly remove its life entirely. This is one of the saddest moments of all time. As of the recording of this video, the Camel Husk is technically still in Snapshot, so if anything major changes, look down below for a pinned comment. Channel members, remember there's a world download out now. Smash a like, subscribe, and check out the playlist on the end card for even more about everything you need to know about this beautiful little game. Until tomorrow, I'll see you then. Adios, muchachos.